Welcome to Metal Casting Lecture Series by Professor Joyjit Ghosh. This is the 13th lecture of a series of lectures. This lecture will be on solidification of casting. Solidification of pure metal will be discussed in detail. Directional solidification and chills will also be discussed. So, do not miss and watch the full video. For the next video in the lecture series, please click the suggested video link above. You may also click on the playlist at end of the video to access all the videos. Please subscribe this channel and yes, do not forget to like and share. Also click on the bell icon to receive instant information of new videos uploaded. Thank you.
Hello friends, welcome to this 13th lecture of a series of lecture on metal casting. In this lecture, we'll be discussing about various types of melting furnaces that are used to melt the metal to be used for casting processes. So, various types of foundry furnaces we'll be discussing. Let's start. So, one of the most common type and one of the most primitive type is cupola furnace, which were used to melt cast iron. However, it is not used nowadays because of some environmental regulations and very rarely used rather. And we have crucible furnace. Crucible furnace can be pit crucible furnace, tilting crucible furnace, mainly used for melting bronze, brass, aluminium, zinc, etc. And then we have electric furnace, which can be direct arc furnace and indirect arc furnace, and we have the induction furnace, which can be basically of two types. So let's start with cupola furnace. Cupola furnace we'll discuss in a little bit details because many syllabus still includes cupola furnaces. So let's start. This is what a cupola furnace look like. It's basically a tower structure made of steel sheets. Normally varies from around 6 mm to around 12 mm thickness, and the diameter of the furnace of the cupola can vary from 1 to 2 meter, and the height actually is variable depending on the amount of the cast iron you will be melting on this. It can range from around 20 feet or it can be more. So the lining, there is an inside lining here which is lined with refractory bricks. Inside of the steel cell is lined with refractory bricks, and the bottom, there is a bottom door which can be closed and on which we build the sand bottom. And this can be made of steel structure or it can be brick structure. The base can be steel structure or brick structure, and you will see the sand will make in such a way that it slopes towards the tapping spout, which is at the bottom side, and slightly above the tapping spout on the other side of this cylindrical shaft we have the slag spout, from which we remove the slag, and slightly above there is a box made of steel having holes on it which are called tires, and this box is called wind box, and the air is blown with a motorized blower through these tires inside the this furnace. So this is called the wind pipe. This is called the wind pipe. The tires varies from 4 to 6 or to 8 in numbers, and on top there is charging door. Normally you have stairs here, so one can climb, and from here you can charge the cupola. What is charging of the cupola we will be discussing later on. And on the top there is a conical cap to arrest the sparks. That is called spark arrestor. So various zones in cupola. You have the crucible zone, that is the bottom here. This is called the crucible zone, which is made of sand. And then you have the tires zones where the wind will be passed, and the combustion zone slightly above. This is combustion zone, slightly above the tires, and the combustion that takes place is, the equations are given here, and the heat is evolved because of this combustion reaction. Carbon of the coke undergoes oxidation to form carbon dioxide and heat, silicon get oxidized to silicon oxide, manganese get oxidized to manganese oxide, and all releases the heat. And in the reduction zone, which is above the combustion zone, you have another reaction takes place. The reduction reaction takes place. The carbon dioxide produced in the combustion zone will be reduced to carbon monoxide, and then we have the melting zone. It is the first layer of the coke bed. The temperature in this zone is very, very high, around 1700 degrees centigrade, and the iron actually melts here. So the carbon monoxide reacts with this iron to give ferric carbon and carbon dioxide. So preheating zone, again it is above that of the charging door, this preheating zone, and the stack zone. Finally, the stack zone through which the gases escapes. So these are zones in cupola. So how do you start the cupola? First, you should close or clean everything. Then close the doors with the metal props and build the sand slope towards the tapping hole. And then small pieces of wood are ignited on the bottom of the sand. Then coke is added and air necessary for the combustion is fed to the tires. The coke we keep on adding it to a desired height until a desired height is reached. Then we charge it. After the coke bed is properly ignited, coke and pig iron in alternate layers. Coke, then pig iron, then coke, then pig iron, like that in alternate layers it is charged. Plus certain fluxes are also added. Fluxes like fluorspar, soda ash, etc. All these are added. Limestone. Sometimes ferromanganese is used as a deoxidizer. So charging of the cupola is done. Once the cupola is charged fully, then we allow it to soak. We keep after the cupola is fully charged, the charge should soak the heat for about 45 minutes in the air blast. That is the motorized blower is turned on, and the heat is soaked. We open the motorized blower, and then tapping is done from the before we tap, we remove the slag from this slag spout, and from the tapping spout we take out the molten metal which is collected in a ladle. So this is how a cupola furnace works. Let's discuss the electric furnaces. Then we close it and we open the props and we then clean it. Okay, electric furnace, direct arc furnace. So you can see the number of carbon electrodes are there. So these carbon electrodes creates a spark with the metal here, and an arc is produced. This heat generated by this arc is enough to melt the metal, and then you can tilt this and you can take it from the tapping spout. So the main advantage of the furnace is that purer production is obtained, and the composition can be controlled during the refining process. The process can operate with 100% scrap steel, which is cheaper than the pig iron. And the furnace involves high cost. The cost of the furnace is very high because of the carbon electrodes and this thing. So it is slightly higher cost. Then we have the indirect arc furnace, where basically there are two electrodes are there. These two carbon electrodes. Spark is produced between these two electrodes, and the entire thing is rocked, and you can see the heat to the metal is transferred by radiation from this arc, as well as it flows over the lining, it takes heat from the lining also. So charge is heated by radiation from the arc and conduction from the lining. So advantage is the chamber remains close to the atmosphere and so oxidation does not take place. So this furnace gives higher production per ton of molten metal, and due to rocking action, absence of the gases. Disadvantage: due to indirect heating, the furnace is suitable for low melting temperature and mainly used for non-ferrous metals. This is an electric resistive furnace. We have electric resistive furnace also It can be peat type, whatever type it can be. Basically, there is a crucible, and there surrounding this there is an electric element which is connected and heated using electricity, and the heat is transferred to the crucible and the metal is melted. It takes a large amount of time to melt using this type of furnace, electric resistive furnace. Wide variety of electric resistive furnace are there. Then we have the modern furnaces called induction furnaces, which are extremely costly to maintain but are extremely fast and gives much more purer metal. So it can be used for all types of metal, be it ferrous, non-ferrous. And it produces a stirring effect of the electric current, which causes the fluxes to be entrained in the metal if they are mixed along with the charge. So fluxes are generally added after switching off the current of the furnace, and sufficient time is allowed for the oxides to be removed by the flux as slag before transferring the metal for pouring. There are two types. One is of high frequency or coilless induction furnace, and other one is cold type. So this furnace consists of a crucible surrounded by water-cooled coil or copper tubing. A very high frequency electric current is passed through the coil, creating an alternating magnetic field, inducing a secondary current in the metal being melted, which bring about the rapid rate of heating. So it can control the temperature accurately and the composition also by this type of furnace, and therefore obviously these are very costly furnaces compared to other electric resistors furnace. So this is a small channel surrounded by a primary coil, which is a laminated steel core, and the secondary core is formed by the channel of the molten metal. So secondary core is the channel of the molten metal, which contains the metal to be melted. The metal, by circulating through the channel, gets heated and gets melted. This is the process of low frequency type induction furnace. Okay, so with this we come to the conclusion of this is a brief introduction to different. Of course, we have not gone to the details of the furnace working and all these things, but as a student of casting, you should be knowing what are the different types of furnaces that are used for melting of metal to be used in casting. Thank you for viewing this video. If you have any doubts, please feel free to contact me.